Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Break Thru podcast. I'm your host, Josh Rosales, and I'm super excited to have with me Jade from the Nashville Sounds. How's it going, Jade?
It's good. We just got done with 12 games in 13 days. So that was pretty intense. But had a couple days off this week, so that was nice. And then back to it on Tuesday. So
I know I was telling you right before we went on that I think I texted you a couple of times and you're like, Josh, I'm on vacation. Josh, I'm on vacation. I'm like, oh man, that's right. Jade's on vacation. Don't leave Jade alone. But I'm just super excited to have you on the podcast today. And, here on the Break Thru podcast, we talk about breaking through mindsets, really hustling and grinding and building skill sets that will eventually help you connect the dots and get to where you want to go. And I definitely want to have you on the podcast just to talk about, it's not really a job for you, but it's like you were saying, like you get to wake up in the morning and you get to do something that you love. And so I want to dig into that a little bit today. So without further ado, Jade, if you wouldn't mind, could you introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners that are going to be watching and listening to the podcast?
Yeah, so I am Jade. I'm originally from Iowa, Southwest Iowa, went to a really small high school, went to Iowa State for my undergrad in kinesiology. I was actually going to be a physical therapist and realized when I saw blood that I passed out. So figured that PT school probably not the best route, but still wanted to do something in like sports or kind of in that aspect. I actually started working with the Iowa Wilds, it's Minnesota Wilds affiliate back home in Des Moines. Worked for them for 3 seasons in like a sport marketing kind of role, game day. And then also worked with the Iowa Wolves, which is a Timberwolves affiliate, and then Iowa State hockey, and kind of realized that sport marketing, sport community, kind of all of that was what I wanted to end up with, and ended up getting my master's at Belmont as a graduate assistant for the 2 years I was there in their athletic department. And that's kind of how I ended up in Nashville. I graduated in 2020 from Belmont, of course, in a global pandemic. So that's great when sports are kind of on pause. Ended up working at Warby Parker for 8 months, like a company for 8 months. And kind of was lucky enough to end up with the Sounds after that.
So how did you end up with the Sounds? And I'm sure that the experience you had in Iowa played into you getting the dream job.
Yeah, so I moved down here in 2018, and I was a fan host for the Sounds, like an usher basically, during the summer that I was down here. And then went to grad school, was busy with Belmont stuff. And then after graduation, 2021 at that point, there was a job opening on Teamwork Online, which is kind of where all the sports teams post their openings, for an activation assistant under corporate partnerships. And so it was kind of community relations and corporate partnerships combined. And was lucky enough to get an interview, and then was lucky enough to get another interview with that, and was offered the position. And it was kind of a seasonal position, so it was kind of a risk to take that because there was really no guarantee of a full-time position afterwards. But luckily in last October was when I was promoted to my full-time role.
So getting into this, did we meet LinkedIn or social
LinkedIn.
media?
I think you messaged me on LinkedIn. Yeah. Yep.
That's right. It's crazy because like I just look for people, incredible people. It's like, okay, who are you? What do you do? How can we network? And that's right. LinkedIn messaged you and us with not just the podcast, but with our nonprofit Break Thru Nashville. We work, so close with the Hispanic community and with schools. And, I thank God every day that our paths have crossed and that we get to serve a lot more of the community and adding a lot more value with the Nashville Sounds. So we talked about how we met. We talked about your journey getting to the Nashville Sounds. And so with all your time with the sports clubs, um, tell me about the love for the game. Like, so baseball and sports, like, what is your love for the game?
Yeah, so I grew up going to iCubs games, so like the Chicago Cubs affiliate in Des Moines, and just had great memories from there. And I mean, baseball was kind of the only sport that I hadn't worked in it, at the point of last year, and so it was kind of like, all right, like let's try this out. My favorite movie is A League of Their Own. I love all of that. So like Dottie Henson, Gina Davis. I have a Funko Pop. I don't know if you know what that is, but I have a Funko.
No.
So it's like a little like character of like I
Okay.
have like all these characters, and so it's I have to look it up. But I have a Funko Pop of Dottie Henson at my desk from
Wow.
A League of Their Own, and so it's kind of like that's there to kind of remind me of like why I'm here, what I do, and just kind of if I'm having like a bad day or whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, this is
There's no
why.
crying in
Yes.
baseball.
Yep. And it's kind of funny because like my family is not really into sports that much. My family is very like musically talented on that side of things. And so like some of my earliest memories are going to like Iowa State basketball and football games with my dad. And like he's a huge Iowa State fan, and we go to sports, like hockey, like I said, basketball, and football, and really got into hockey like junior high and high school, and just I played sports in high school. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball up until like 10th grade, 10th or 11th grade. Like I said, I went to a really small school, so it's kind of like we need people out. So, but I still, up until last year, played like rec softball. I just don't have the time right now with being in season and everything. But I still love watching football. I still love watching baseball. I've been to I think 5 MLB stadiums so far, 5 or
Wow.
6. I love Coors Field. Coors Field in Denver is so cool. Their bullpen is just like evergreens, and like there's like a waterfall and everything. It's so cool.
So tell us a little bit. So currently you are the community relations manager for the Nashville Sounds. What is that?
So I basically I'm under the marketing department. But with that, like I plan any of our community events. So if we're out at like different, like we did like 615 day with the Preds. So we have a presence out there. I do all of our school visits. I drive around our mascot, which is so much fun. It's like you drive down like any street and you see people that are just like, there's a giant chicken in your front seat. And it's like, yes, there is. But it's so much fun. Like we did like Valentine's Day deliveries this year. And so it was like 8 hours of Booster and I driving around like Middle Tennessee. So, but like I said, any of our school visits, any community events that we do, we'll do pop-up baseball. So like we'll try and go to at least once a month, try and go to different schools or like summer camps or things like that. And we'll bring like wiffle ball equipment, and we'll play with the kids for like an hour. So it's with that, like coming from Iowa and coming from the Midwest, like I feel like everybody knows baseball rules, or everyone knows softball rules because you played t-ball or you played little league or whatever at some point in your life. And then moving down here, it was just surprising that a lot of students, a lot of young kids don't necessarily know baseball rules. And so
Yeah.
kind of like when you're explaining baseball, it's like, oh, right, you have to like tag up, or you have to, you hit like showing them how to, the batter stance. And just kind of just things like that you don't think of. And Nashville is actually like a really, what is the term? Field poor city. There's not a lot of
Hmm.
space for baseball or softball fields, for that matter. And so a lot of schools don't offer baseball or softball until you get to that high school level. So
Yeah.
it's interesting just because I said, just like coming from Iowa, coming from the Midwest, like every school has a baseball team, has a softball team. So that was interesting.
So getting more into the in depth in the community giving, what does giving back look like for you on a like on a daily basis,
Yeah.
weekly, monthly basis? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in charge of all of our front office volunteer opportunities. And so every month I will find 3 or 4 different volunteer ops for our staff to do. And so whether that is like a service day at Nashville Humane or a service day at the Rescue Mission, There with Care, things like that. I try and keep it different every month, or try and go like September is like whatever national month, or try and go with like that theme. Personally, I volunteer with Bridge Builder and then with the Rescue Mission. I try to get there at least twice a month, if not more. But it's so important to give back to the community that's kind of given me what I like, my dream job basically, and being able to work with that. And it's just coming from Iowa, like everybody kind of gives back to their community in some way. And so moving
Mhm.
down here, it's just like, all right, so how can I do that, but on a bigger scale?
Yeah,
And so, yeah, just, I mean, working, like I said, my job is just, it's so cool because I get to kind of volunteer for my job and get
yeah.
to, improve Nashville. So,
So let me ask you, what is the who's the biggest star, base MLB star you've met or that has got called up from the sounds?
sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of depends. So last year we had Keston Hira. He was one of the Brewers. So we're affiliated with the Brewers in Milwaukee, and so we have, I can't remember the exact number of players on their 40-man roster, and so
Hmm.
every so often, like they'll have a 2-way contract, and so they'll go up or they'll come down or whatever. But last year, like Keston Hira was down here, and then he got called up. He's doing pretty well. I know he had like a rough spot last year where his mom was diagnosed with cancer, and so he took off, I think, 3 or 4 months of the season to go be with her and then try to like come back and everything. We also had Christian Yelich here, like opening day 2021, and so that was a huge draw for us because he was one of the top prospects for the Brewers, and he's doing really well there now. And we just have like, it's the 40-man roster players. It's like you know who's going to be your team basically, and then you have like a bunch of guys that have minor league deals. And so it really just depends kind of on the year. I know Daniel Vogelbach last year was with the Brewers. He's kind of been around the league a little bit, but he's like a power hitter, I guess. He's not a fast runner, but he's a power hitter. His batting average is pretty great, but he was kind of down here for a rehab assignment, and then was up with the Brewers. Now he's with the Pirates, I believe, this season. But it's kind of fun because you'll have, I think, last homestand we played the Pittsburgh Pirates affiliates, and so like their top prospect was down here, and like our number 2 prospect was down here. So it's kind of fun to see those and kind of get a chance to see them before they make it to the show. So
That is incredible, man. Jay, you're like boom, boom, boom. Oh, wow, that is incredible. Hey, the other thing that we talk about too on our podcast is um, just self development, right? And it's like I feel that in order for me to give, I have to pour into myself. And it could be done in multiple different ways. It could be done it could be done podcasts. It could be a book, either reading or audiobook. But with everything that you're doing, how do you take time, or what does that look like for you to like self develop and learn, even being there with the sounds, learning and keeping your skill sets sharp, whether it's the game of baseball, whether it's who's coming in, who's going out, stats, just so you can have conversation. Like, and then in your personal life too, like how does that work for you to self-develop and make sure that you're pouring into yourself?
Yeah, so there's actually a Facebook group of all of like the MILB CR people, CR departments, whatever. And so we will try and kind of not get together, but like kind of, message back and forth or email back and forth. We try and hop on a call at least once a month, just kind of like, hey, like what are you doing? What's new for this month? What are you guys planning for 2023? And so when I first started this position, I kind of reached out to everybody in AAA baseball on the CR side and was like, hey, can we get on a call? Like this is, I know what I'm doing, but also like I kind of want to see what's worked for you guys, what hasn't worked for you, what advice you'd give me, things like that. I think I sent out like 35 emails and had like 32 responses. And so,
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
good.
so I was very impressed with that. Like they took time out of their busy schedule to have like an hour conversation with me. I had a notebook that was literally like this thick of ideas that other teams had given me or other front office had given me. And so very thankful for that, just from like the CR side. And so it's like, all right, so how did this, mystery bobblehead auction go? Or how did this mystery ball auction go? And I will say, like I said, MILB is very like pro helping each other out, which is great. I don't know, like I'm assuming that MLB is the same way, but I just know what MILB is, and so very thankful for that. And just kind of as keeping up with the team, just kind of reading like our press releases and all of the stuff that our media director puts out, just kind of knowing what's going on with the team and kind of knowing what's going on with the Brewers, and being able to have those conversations with, all right, look, these are our up and coming prospects. Our AA team is in Biloxi. They're the Biloxi Shuckers. And so kind of knowing who is up and coming on their squad, who we might see next year, who we might see the year after, and just kind of keeping up with those things, it's kind of nice. As far as like, well, so I have like a CR cage with all of our like autographs and autographed items and things like that. And so kind of knowing, all right, so Ethan Small, who's one of our pitchers, he's from Spring Hill, Tennessee, which is like 30 minutes from Nashville. And so he's like kind of a homegrown player. And so like on like an auction, like his autograph might go over better than say somebody else because he played here, he is from here, his family is from here still. And just kind of knowing that, and just kind of when the players get here, like during April, we ask them, like we have a whole questionnaire for them, like, are there any organizations you guys volunteer with? Like what causes are close to your heart? Things like that. And so on the player side of things,
oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so kind of getting to know what what they're passionate about. We have a player, I believe he's a pitcher, that his daughter, I want to say, was born with a congenital heart defect, and so they're super into the organization is called Conquering CHD, and so we had them out at a game as charity of the game, and so kind of being able to tie what the players are passionate about and to what we do as a team and what we do as a front office is kind of cool as well. So
that is awesome that you have that questionnaire and that you partner with your the players on what's important to them and really partner with them and helping out their causes. That's incredible.
It kind of like we're still under COVID protocols, so we can't really get out in the community as much as we'd like to. I'm hoping maybe next year that goes away. So we can't do as many like volunteer opportunities with the players that I'd like to, but like I said, hopefully next year we'll be able to get that back on track and kind of get them more out in the community, because I know like the Preds have the same issue, and the soccer club has the same issue, and the Titans have the same issue too with those COVID protocols, and you just kind of have to go with the flow.
Yeah, gotta lean into it. So what's the next 2-3 years look for Jade?
Yeah, I mean, I love it here. I love Nashville. It's been such a great. I've lived here for 4 years, and it's changed so much. Like in that 4 years, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love the sounds. Like the front office staff is great. You don't really see that coming from, I mean, saying that coming from different organizations, it's like each organization has kind of their strengths and their weaknesses. But like I've been really lucky to have the front office staff and have like the support that they give me, with kind of doing like, hey, like how can I support you? How can, you know, how can we make your job better? How can we make the community better? And being able to kind of have free reins of that. And so, like I said, I really enjoy my time here, and it's fun. I've made so many friends. So hoping that I can stay here for the next couple of years, and then, you know, go from
That'd
there.
be good. I know, that's good. You're like, so there at the park, was it the you got a couple of restaurants, right? You got a couple of
Yep.
restaurants,
So
got the
there's Third and
bandbox.
Home. Yep. So we have Third and Home. Tailgate Brewery just opened below Third and Home, and then Brooklyn Bowl is like right next to it. And like they're not actually in the stadium, but they're just like outside of it. But yeah, we have it's called the Bandbox in the right field. That's like our, you know, the cool bar, I guess. There's also like
Cornhole.
yeah,
ping
cornhole.
pong.
Yep. All the
Man.
fun activities for like the kids and families to come out and, you know, on weekends too. So we have mini golf course. We also have like speed pitch that kids can play. So I think our mini golf course, it's like 9 holes or something. It's something crazy. I don't think any other like MILB team has a mini golf course on there.
Hey,
in
the
their
sound
stadium. So.
yeah, the sound stadium is set up really nice. It's a beautiful stadium just to bring your family, enjoy the game of baseball, have some hot dogs, enjoy just everything, kids, family. It's an amazing event. I know that it's always packed. It's always packed. And there's really not a bad seat in the stadium. Like anywhere you sit, you're going to get a good view of the game.
Yeah, our park opened up in 2015, I believe was the first season that we were open. And so we're kind of like one of the still newer facilities in baseball, and like I think honestly one of the better, just because why not? You know, we're in Nashville, and you know we have like for our 3rd of July game, so our like, you know, July 4th extravaganza, we had over 11,000 fans here. So it was so, it's like that's honestly one of my favorite games of the year, because there's so much fun. There's so much like you can just like you feed off of, you know, the fans' excitement. And so it's like, all right, this is fun. Like we can do this. And you know, even though we had so every Sunday we do kids are on the bases after the game. And so for the 3rd, we had fireworks, and then we had kids are on the bases. And so it was just like, all right, long day, like end of our 12-game homestand, like we got this. And it was like, you know, you were kind of tired by like 7th inning, but then it's like, all right, the, you know, fans are still having fun. They're excited. They're still here. And so just being able to kind of feed off of that when you're like, all right, like, am I good? Do I need more caffeine?
And you're just running, right? You're just like going here, going there, just running, man. That is incredible. So, so I'm so glad that you took your time to come out and join us. The Nashville Sounds are such a landmark and so important to Nashville as a whole. You know, it's like you got the Preds, you got the Titans, you got the Nashville Sounds, and who I work for, First Horizon.
Exactly.
Yes, First Horizon Park. Yeah, First Horizon Park. And so I know that as a bank, I know in a company, First Horizon takes a lot of pride in being able to have the naming rights for the park. And so, you know, football and hockey and baseball just has a different vibe. It's like, it's fun, but it's like just a chill vibe. Go there, family, food, fun. Like you leave, and it's just a uniqueness. There's a uniqueness about the game.
I always feel like so I do like part-time game day services stuff for the Titans during their season. And so I feel like with football games, like, you know, if you're ahead, like there's a pretty good chance that you're going to win. And with baseball, like that's not always a given. You know, you can have a grand
That's
slam, you
true.
can have like a walk off, you can, you know, I think so on last Tuesday, I can't remember what homestand it was, but we were down like 7-2 in like the fifth inning, and we had like a 7-run sixth inning, and so we ended up winning that game. But we had been down for 5 innings at that point, and so it's just like, all right, like we have, we had a grand slam, we had 3 walks, we had stuff like that, and so you never know what's going to happen with that. So,
Man. Well, Jade, I want to thank you for coming on today, and I want to thank you for your um, partnership with our nonprofit, Break Thru Nashville. I know we got a lot going on this coming year for kids, and that's the one thing I like is that our sports teams in Nashville, they really care about our communities. They really pour resources and
yeah,
volunteer hours, and it's they really care. And that's the one thing I think that sets Nashville apart is that we have our local businesses, our sports teams that care about what we care about. And so thank you for that. And for anyone that is looking to um, get connected with the Nashville sounds, or even there's people that I talk to that don't even know, like, so how do I buy tickets though? What do I do? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, you've never been to a baseball game? They're like, no, I've never been to a
Like,
baseball
no.
game. Like,
Yeah, it's
how would
crazy.
someone just go nashvillesounds.com and look at the dates and buy tickets?
Yeah, yep. Everything's online. We're like digital ticketing this year, so you'll just kind of sign in with your Ticketmaster account, all that good stuff. I mean, they're pretty affordable for, entertainment wise, and especially in Nashville. So everything
Hmm.
is so expensive, as you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you budget and you're like, okay, we're gonna go to a game next month, and like it's affordable. It's not
Yeah.
unaffordable. But I mean, there's some people that it could be unaffordable, but it's just the experience. I think it's the experience that you have when you go to a game is just it's awesome.
We really try and focus on, fan first. And I always think that MILB is really good at entertainment and, putting the fans first. MLB is kind of, we have our star players, we have that, but MILB is really focused on how can we make that fan experience better. And I think this year we've done a really good job with like all of our giveaways, and like just we have a bigger staff than last year, obviously with everything, but I feel like we work really well together as a whole front office. Like no one is above asking like, hey, do we need help? Do you need help? How can I help you? How can I make your job easier? So that makes it go a long way.
Definitely. Well, as we end, I'm just going to ask you for entrepreneurs that are out there, whether in the real estate industry, insurance industry, no matter where you're at, it's all about mindset. So as we wrap up our podcast, can you encourage those out there? A lot of times, business owners, or just individuals, they want to throw in the towel because either the process is hard, and they're like, is it worth it? They wake up every morning and it's like, oh, I got to go back to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. So, like for Jade, like what is the encouragement? What do you want to tell people out there when it comes to mindset and really breaking through their mindset to achieve whatever goal that they want to achieve?
Yeah, it was before I ended up in this position and with the sounds, like it was honestly like that was kind of like, all right, so I'm not going to be in the sports world. Like I just had kind of, not accepted it, but just kind of accepted it. And then, you know, still kept looking for jobs, I actually was rejected from like 4 or 5 different sports jobs before I ended up with the sounds. And so just kind of, having that mental like strength and just being able to be like, all right, like push through. And, while you have that kind of second plan or kind of have that like, you know, other job or other whatever, other hustle, however you want to call it. But just kind of be able to focus on that one goal and just kind of, you know, pushing through and just making sure that, if that's what you want, like you go for it. So,
and it will happen.
Yes,
it will happen. It may not happen right when you want it to happen, but it will happen with time, consistency, discipline, the grind, the hustle, it will happen. And we have to be okay with the process and be patient with it.
Yeah, it was definitely, heartbreaking a couple of jobs, because it was like I really wanted that job. I had interviewed at Oklahoma State University for a position in their athletic department. Was a finalist for that. I was a finalist for a job with the Royals. And then kind of hearing like, hey, like we went with a different direction. It was just like, okay, all right, like wasn't meant to be, like that's fine, next thing. But yeah, just gotta just keep going, and one day it'll all work out.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Jade, for hopping on with us this afternoon. And you added so much value to our podcast. And I was like, man, I have to get Jade on the podcast, because what you do, it's not really a job. Like you said, you get to do, you get to have fun every day. It's work, but it's fun. It's just incredible. It's incredible what you do with the Nashville Sounds, to be able to work for a sports team, and not just any sports team, but the Nashville Sounds. They have so much heart, and they partner so well with the community. So for those of you that are listening and those that are watching the video, we just want to say, if you've never been to a Sounds game, you owe it to yourself to attend. It's First Horizon Park, and not only just attending the game, but the food, the fun, the restaurants around. It's a complete experience, and especially for your kids. If you got kids, you definitely want to attend, because it's an experience you'll never forget. So with all of that, thank you so much, Jade, for taking your time. I want to thank your mom, Rita, for joining us. I was like, hey, Rita. It's like, hey, it's like, how do you know Jade? I'm her mom. I'm like, you know what? I was figuring, I was like, that might be Jade's mom.
She's my best friend. Yeah.
That is cool. You got a great support group. And
I do.
From all of us at the Break Thru podcast, thank you, Jade, for coming on. We value your relationship. We value just the networking with you and the Nashville Sounds and First Horizon Park. Right?
Love it.
But yeah, so thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.